I did like watching Ring of Honor. That was kind of fun. I mean, it was, even though obviously they're just rerunning shows with no real order. Because I'm trying to think of the name of the guy. It was a black guy. I don't get no respect. And when he was fighting, it was like the first show I watched was a retrospective of. It must have been a retrospective of him because it was just matches with him.
What they do, they go to a wrestler and say, record some stuff and pick out your favorite matches.
It wasn't even that. He wasn't even talking. They had a really. Were they playing that? They were a brother-sister team? A really cute girl with glasses?
No, that's the regular announced team.
Okay, because they weren't in the third episode I watched.
Yeah,
but
she's Quinn McKay and Ian Riccaboni.
Yeah, she was really cute. But
you should. Well, she's a wrestler, and you should see her bodybuilding pics under the under the librarian outfits. Good Lord, she is buff.
What's her last name?
Quinn McKay.
I'll look that up after we're done. Shane, I can't think of his last name. I want to say Douglas, but that ain't it. Shane.
Oh yeah, Shane. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he was good. I mean, it was like that was the first one. Then the second
a really
episode,
good big guy. Yeah.
The second episode, he was not the champion. Somebody else was. And I wrote these things down too, and I don't know where I put them. There was two guys who really moved well. One I want to say that name was like the twirl or the. He wore kind of like a mask. It wasn't like a luchador mask.
Oh,
it was kind of like
there's who are those guys?
Right.
I would know their names if I hadn't tried to think of it.
What they did is they decided that they were going to have honor. And so 4 bad guys, four faces got up and they fought and for honor. And of course the guy who got pinned was the heavyweight champ at the moment, and he wasn't Shane. And then when the third episode hit, none of those guys were there, but Shane was the champion again. The previous one, Shane wasn't champion. He was just going for it. His big thing was, it was just kind of neat. I mean, it was easy to follow who was who, and the wrestling was just amazing. But these two guys, that one Mexican guy with the I thought his name started with a D, with the face.
Dragon Lee.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other ones are, let's see here, Bandito.
Bandito, that was it.
Yes.
And I'm trying to think of who was on the face side that moved. But boy, they got together, and it was just like people were just dying to see him.
Roosh.
I'm just looking at the
champion is Roosh.
And the second one, Flip Gordon, that's who it was.
Oh, I love Flip Gordon.
Flip Gordon and the guy with the mask. I'm looking for him, but I don't see him at the moment. There was also, in the third episode, there was like a tag team of some guy who came out, and you could just tell he was a swarthy heel. And it was fun. Like I said, I mean, they had a neat match. I remember Sume Sake was in it.
Oh, yeah.
Session Moth, and I forget who the third woman was, but damn, they really went at it. Velvet Sky maybe was the third one.
Yeah, Ring of Honor, they run a MMA based style.
Yeah, there he is. And the last guy, the third episode had Vincent on it and his group, and it was like, the Kingdom. Yeah. So, and they were fun, but again, they were all different just different times, obviously, that they, it wasn't sequential.
Yeah.
So, but it was fun to watch. And, like I said, it was 3 a.m. I couldn't sleep. Oh, there's Quinn McKay, but she's dressed up like an announcer. I'll look for you later, baby.
Look for her bikini pics. It's like she could beat the shit out of you.
And I would love it.
All right, are we ready?
Sorry, there's something I want to talk about later, but I just got to get it up
Okay.
and out. Up and out, up and out.
Hello and welcome once again to Crazy Comics and Stories. It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. And at the other end of the series of tubes and wires that we call the internets is Joe, Crazy Writer. How you doing today, Joe?
Wait a minute. Didn't we just do one of these?
Yeah, but you're going to be gone for 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. And I'm not even gone on any like body sickness or body replacements or anything. What's up with that?
Wait, you got your body replaced?
Well, yeah, I got new bionic hips and
Oh, you got body
other...
parts replaced. I thought you had the whole thing replaced.
No.
Why not?
It feels like it, but oh well.
Yeah, what are we going to do this winter when you're available to podcast?
Don't worry, I'm still working on something to get I don't know, replaced, beat up.
Yeah, if you don't do something soon, you are going to have to be part of the Festivus episode.
That ain't happening. I'll find
Yeah.
something. Hang on a second. Let's see. No, that. Oh, let me try again. Ow! Damn it! What? Keep talking. I'm bound to break
We
something.
are less than 30 episodes away from episode 500.
Well, that is unique and special.
I don't know.
And
What
really
are we going to do?
kind of sad. Now, I don't know. We could have maybe do a question free for all.
No, we could do that.
We haven't done that in a while. I know you. What we could do is I'll send out feelers to your friends and you send out feelers to mine and say, what are the questions you'd like to have Joe answer? Because I know when we leave it to a lot of our listenership, we'll get 4 or 5 answers, even though we are
A national treasure.
Yes. But
And beloved by the world.
and of course, we can't be a national treasure without starting out with an apology.
What is Joe sorry for this week?
Well, the fact that this here previous episode, by the time you listen to it, it may be too late. It's never too late to ask, but it may be too late to get pre-orders in for some of the stuff that we'll be talking about in this here episode, because we just had a lot of stuff going on. And of course, when DC decided to implode, we made a decision like we've got to talk about this because this was pretty quick
and I
stuff.
didn't get my previews till yesterday.
So there were reasons. There were behind the scenes things, and even as a header for the DC thing, I had to stop and think about just some of the things, like when Jim Lee's saying that 20-30% of the books are losing money. I don't know if I buy that. I think
I'd buy it if you're just looking at the regular printed comic. I buy that.
I don't,
but
because
then they advertise it.
None of it's
digital sales and trade paperbacks.
Yeah, I don't buy it because none of it's returnable. In other words, they make 1,000 copies. Those 1,000 copies are gone. They don't see them again. That's pure money in the pocket. Now, I will tell and again, this is things we don't know. If they're paying the creative team too much money, I call it the next wave thing, where the creative team and the books were great, but they had so much money that they were paying them, the sales didn't warrant it that. So maybe that's happening more across the board, or maybe the Joe Hill line just wasn't doing it, or the Vertigo line or Black Label or whatever. All these imprints that they thought, this would be a good idea, but they're just not doing what they needed them to do. Again, we don't know because we're not privy to that information.
Another thing to remember is you've got to pay the creators, you've got to pay everybody working on it, you got to pay the production people, and they have to pay editorial. And I don't know. I'm just going to grab a, let's see, I'm just going to grab a Marvel trade paperback that I have sitting here, Dawn of X. Okay? So let's take a look at the creative on it. Here are the editors. Collection editor, assistant managing editor, assistant managing editor, assistant managing editor, editor, special projects, VP production and special projects, SVP print and sales and marketing, editor-in-chief, design, assistant editorial, 2 people, and editor.
See, the only thing with that, though, is not everybody there is responsible or gets paid off a single book. In other words,
No,
the marketing
but they get paid on all of them.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's you know, yeah, you'll be paid off your Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman revenues. So if Aquaman's not cutting the cheese, again, I think it's more creators, because 90% of the creators, from what I understand, they get royalties. That's where they make their money. DC used to be really good on royalties. That was in the back end, not the front end. Again, we don't really know. I mean, Jim Lee, if you want to come on our show, we'd love to have you and maybe talk a little bit more. But it's also proprietary information, which means he may not be at liberty to discuss it. I just find it suspect that he says that many books aren't making money, but when they print it, they're 100% non-returnable. That means they all go to the comic shops at hand. Again, we don't know. Maybe they printed 100,000 Joe Hill comics and we only ordered, I don't know, you look at sales figures. What were they down in
The Joe Hill books sold better than your average DC. The thing to remember, because you've never been in the corporate world the way I have, it doesn't matter if your book is selling 200,000 or 15,000. The editorial cost will be amortized over the entire line. So let's just pick one of the books, Aquaman. Let's just pick Aquaman. The office cost of Aquaman, for accounting purposes, is going to be the same as Batman. Even though Batman makes a lot more money, the office cost of Aquaman is the same. And that's a dollar line item that they put on every book, because that's what they do for employees. It's okay. We know that all employees at this level are paid within this range. So we just take the top of the range and count it for every head, and that's what we're going to charge your department. So when you get to the corporate level, they're going to say, you are publishing 90 books. Your cost is $900,000. I'm just pulling numbers out of the air.
Yeah, because we don't know the real number.
So each book costs $10,000 to produce. So the budget for that book is $10,000. Well, let's see here. The bottom line for the book is editorial cost is $2,500. And then you go from there. Okay, how much did we pay the artist? How much did we pay the colorer? How much did we pay the inker? How much did we pay the writer? So spreadsheet-wise, it could be that, yes, Batman is making tons of money and Aquaman isn't making any, but Batman costs about the same as Aquaman, except for the creator costs. The below-the-line costs, the editorial, the production, the office, the overhead, that's all going to be the same for every book. So I can see where a book may make a profit, but once you add in the cost of overhead, nope, didn't make a profit.
Yeah, just kind of like they do at the movie division, you know, and there they get even fudgier, because they'll what was the like Avatar?
No, well, the one where it all came out was what's the Eddie Murphy movie? Coming to America?
Coming to America, yeah.
They stole the idea from Art Buchwald, who sued and won, but he won the net profits, not the gross profit. So every year they would send another thing. Sorry, Coming to America still hasn't made any money. And it had made hundreds of millions of dollars. Sorry, it has yet to turn a profit. Why? Because they would take the cost for the movies that didn't get made and put it on there, the cost for the movies that bombed and put it on there, and the VHS sales, that's in the VHS division, not in the movie division. That's not counted as part of the profits, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And let's remember, DC's owned by a movie company.
Yeah, so they probably did the same thing, and especially now that corporate AT&T is now looking at cutting costs all across the board, which is common corporate practice. You buy a property and you turn around and you cut everything to the bone because you're trying to impress your shareholders.
And the number one thing, as they've researched and everything, it's the people who'd been there for a while with experience who were making high salaries. So basically, they got rid of everybody who was making a high salary with tenure and replaced them with their underlings who made a lot less, which is another thing that they do in corporations.
Yeah, because that's why they have no institutional memory.
Yeah.
And I've seen that at government level. But not everybody is that stupid. And you know who isn't?
Well, us.
Well, I should say wasn't.
Oh, who?
I'll tell you when we get to geeking.
Oh,
because
okay.
We got previews to go through, and that means we got an extra long show anyways. However, I do have to admit, this is to be, outside of a January, the lowest previews in terms of things that I bought in a long, long time. And that includes the fact that in the back of the catalog, when you get to the gaming section, I bought the WizKids big ass Galactus figure.
Oh,
that was like $99 just because I think it would look cool. It's part of the Heroes Click line. So, and if you play Heroes Click, what's cool about it is that it has not only the power circle, but the cosmic circle, but it also has another circle. So if he decides to eat the planet you're currently playing on, well, you're in trouble, people. And I just figure I buy that because it looks cool, and who knows, I'll probably just sit on it for a year and flip it. You know how I am. I am fickle.
I will say that the apparel was 3 pages. That's the smallest that has ever been. It's your 2-page from Graffiti, which has had 2 pages since as long as I can remember, and then 1 page of other stuff. No Marvel shirts, no hats, no nothing.
So should we try to see if we can get this under 2 hours?
Sure, we won't.
Considering how many we've already just blew about 15, 20 minutes revisiting DC. Cory, you're a scumbag.
No, I'm not. Rick Remender is.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Image Comics, page 36. And remember, folks, this is a interactive podcast where you get to take your copy of previews from August 2020 and play along. We'll give you the page number, such as page 36, Scumbag number 1. It's a new ongoing series from the Deadly Class Rick Remender. He launches an all-new comedy espionage series. It's the story of Ernie Ray Clementine, a profane, illiterate, drug-addicted biker with a 5th grade education. His only thing standing between us and total Armageddon, because this dummy accidentally received a power-imbibing serum, makes him the world's most powerful super spy. And this is a case where what made the decision for me was the fact that they did 3 pages, full size, because I got a little bitch in that later, that I was able to look at and go, you know what? This actually looks like it'll be kind of fun. And as I want to do, I'll probably pick up the first story arc. And if I decide it's worthwhile, I'll probably sell it and switch over to the graphic novels, kind of like I did with Die. Because I don't know, Cory, did I tell you what Die number 1 is going for?
I think it's over 100. I know that.
It is now. I sold my run of 1 through whatever to somebody local for about $80, and that was a pretty good deal for him. But then I took the $80 to run Black graphic novels. So Scumbag is definitely on the try list. And because they get variant covers, I think I went with cover A just because I think that's funny. I used to collect for a while atomic bomb covers, and then stopped. But I always love a good one here and there. That's it for me for Image. How about for you, Mr. Strode?
I am not buying it, but I think it's fascinating that Walking Dead is starting over. They're basically going to reprint the entire series, or, as much as they can and still make money, in color. Calling it Walking Dead Deluxe. The entire run of Walking Dead never got above $3. It starts at $3.99. So if you wanted to read it in color in a monthly comic, there you go. Again, this is to amortize the cost of doing color so that they can reprint all the trade paperbacks and everything in color. Now, reminds me of when they did Walking Dead Weekly. That lasted about, 45, 50 issues for all the people.
We've seen that before.
Who didn't pick it up?
They did it for ElfQuest. They did it with Cerebus, just the weeklies, trying to get people caught up. Now, I will say there were some other books that I may have bought, but I couldn't quite. I'm an old guy with bad eyesight. I mean, I use magnifying glass, and I'm still. It was hard to see some of the other previews they had going through them, because I was like, I think I'd kind of like that blue and green original graphic novel on page 46, but I can't quite make out the writing on it or if it is even good. I know it's expensive to probably put that in previews, give me full page color. And I do appreciate any preview, but be nice to us guys that have bad eyesight.
On page 56, there is a Stairway Anthology.
The what?
Stairway Anthology.
What page?
58. I'm sorry, 58.
Aha. See, I thought I was going nuts. There it is.
I love anthologies. The price is good for what you get. $14.99 for 128 pages. Science fiction stories. I guess there is a Stairway trade paperback too, which I had never heard of because there's so much stuff on the market now. But I will pick up this anthology because I like anthologies. They are pushing all of the Image books that have been optioned or turned into TV series on the next page. So there is probably a discount for your retailer. So go ahead and look into those.
Now I hope as a retailer, I would hope they would offer this type of picture as a poster for my shop.
Yeah.
Because that would be just perfect. You don't have to put page to screen, retailer see order info, but just that whole page to screen. And, I mean, there's been times I was so bereft of retailer support that I would take a Wizard or Previews or Advanced Comics, and I would literally rip the pages out of the book and plaster it up so people could look at it. But yeah, this is brilliant. That is some awesome advertising, and I hope Image, and what I know of Image, they might not be able to, but it would be nice if they could actually get this type of page larger for a retailer to use.
But then, for Image, the rest is their ongoing series, so just the regular stuff. We did not do our regular January, this is what we normally buy. We need to do that soon.
Well, let's do that when I come back.
Okay.
So there, and we also got a preview of one gentleman a while back sent us a preview. And at the time I think he was doing a Kickstarter, GoFundMe, but his stuff's available on Amazon. So we're going to have a preview. We're going to start doing that again. If you're a retailer, or not a retailer, but a creator out there and you got a private book you're publishing, hey, let us know about it. We'll take a look at it. I mean, we prefer physical copies because then Cory has one, I have one. But if you can send it by via computer, we're always good for reviews. Now, that said, you got anything else on Image?
No, I was about to say, next is Dark Horse.
And I got nothing new from Dark Horse, so I'm ready to jump to the next one. But
however, I'm going to point out page 95, which is actually affected by the COVID. Seeds by Ann Nocenti and David Aja. 2 issues of the comic came out, and because of delays and COVID-19 and everything, they decided they would just finish it up as a trade paperback. There are a few books that are going to be doing this. I am not happy about this, because imagine, I bought issue 1 and issue 2, but if I want the rest of the story, I have to buy a trade paperback that has the 2 issues I have in it. So I hope they put a little extra in the trade paperback. However, Ann Nocenti is someone whose writing I always pick up. Her stuff is different, it's innovative, it's interesting, and David Aja is one of the best artists in comics. His run on Hawkeye with Matt Fraction, still one of the high points of the last 20 years. And I go back and read that book at least once a year. It's one of the omnibuses I'm worried about, because I may reread it so many times it pulls out.
I will point out Colleen Doran's book, The Clock, from Image.
That happened to it too.
Yeah, same thing. I lucked out in that one because Clock number 2 was part of the February order that disappeared. So I have number 1, and then I sent a note and I said, hey, 2 and 3 are canceled. Just put the trade on my thing. So I kind of lucked out on that one. I'd be highly annoyed, like you said. You have issues 1 and 2. Oh, well, that's where dollar books come from. I will point out back on page 78, I believe we talked about this before, and this is, I believe, a resolicitation. Norse Mythology with Neil Gaiman, P. Craig Russell. I am personally going to buy this in book format, just like I was raving about last episode, the American Gods. I love, boy, you get these 2 together, and I think, again, they could do the phone book together, and I'd probably pick it up. But here's your chance. They're going to do an ongoing series, start over again. So, again, if you're looking to pick it up, that's the time to go for it. But that's it for me, Dark Horse wise.
In what may become a permanent addition to the previews, to the previews thing, Joe is utterly uninterested in what is coming out from DC. I, however, still order some stuff from DC, so I'm going to point out a few things, some of which I'm ordering, some of which, yeah, I'm not going to edit this part, so deal with the fact that I'm tongue-tied some of the time. Some of which are things that I just want to point out as new issues. Number 1 that I want to point out, American Vampire 1976. They're doing a mini-series to sort of wrap up that full series. There was omnibus that came out that was part 1. They're going to finish it up in part 2, mostly because it started in Vertigo. Vertigo no longer exists. Then it was going to be in Black Label, and now we're hearing Black Label no longer exists. And Scott Snyder is contractual to finish it up, so I guess he's going to finish it up as a mini-series. Also, there is a Watchmen spinoff that I am actually excited about. What? Tom King is doing a Rorschach series. Again, I am not going to be buying this as regular comics. I will be buying it as a trade paperback, or more likely a hardcover, because it is Tom King. But I do want to point out that that starts up during the month that we're talking about. Tom King, George Fornes, and Dave Stewart is colorist. The covers look very cool, and it's Tom King. I love Tom King's Batman. I love Tom King's Mr. Miracle, and I am loving Tom King's other work that he's done, especially Vision. But man, that Mr. Miracle was just so good. I read it again recently. There are no of the DC giants anymore, but there's still some work that's kind of coming in that they're going to be putting in special books. I'm pretty sure we're going to get a Wonder Woman 84, which will have all the stuff that was created for that. But there's also the Tom King story, Legend of the Swamp Thing Halloween Spectacular. It's a 48-pager. It's probably the stuff that Tom King and a couple other people were going to do for the 100-pager for Swamp Thing in that month. So it's all of those. So rather than getting it, in a nice 100-page package for $5, you're going to have to pay $5.99 for 48 pages. DC does have another of their big 100-page. Well, they're 80 pages now. They used to be 100 pages. Now they're only 80 pages. Which are collections of short stories. This one is DC, The Doomed and the Damned. Let's see here. It's urban legends. So it's does Batman encounter an urban legend after speaking its name 3 times in a mirror? Madame Xanadu enlists the help of Man-Bat. You got a Green Lantern demon story and 7 other stories for Halloween. I really like these books. I actually just read the Joker 100-page anniversary special, and just some fantastic short stories in that. Of course, that was, they got the big name talent to do that. This is more people who are just kind of learning their way, and there aren't a lot of comics left for people to learn how to do comics the way there were in the 70s. In the 70s you had the what they called the mystery comics, which were DC's horror books. You had the war comics, which were very highly edited. That was kind of how you broke into DC, and after you broke in at DC, you could go over to Marvel. There aren't books like that anymore. You break in different ways. But I'm going back and I'm reading those mystery books and the anthology books, and it's something I miss about comics. So, I do pick up the 100-pager, 80-pagers from DC. Kind of like how much I love the 100-pagers from DC, which are also dead. Stone cold dead. The rest of DC, we're going to get a lot of cancellations, a lot of final issues in the coming months. But the other thing that we're going to be looking for are, if I can get down to it, the trade paperbacks and hardcovers. So, as we get to the hardcovers, first one I want to point out that I'm very excited about is the Deadman Omnibus. It's 944 pages for $100. It has all of the Deadman stuff by Neil Adams. But it's also got the stuff that came after it all the way up to 1986. Basically, it leads you up to Crisis on Infinite Earths with one major story that is not in there, and that is when Jack Kirby had Deadman in Forever People. And the reason I mention that is because Carmine Infantino, who was involved in the creation of Deadman, loved the character of Deadman. Loved him. Kirby, of course, hated the name of the character. He hates anything to do with death. He was weirded out by DC's fascination with death on their covers. Everybody was dying, and everything was about this character's going to die. And he thought that was rather morbid. But he was asked to do a Deadman story, so what he did kind of turned the Deadman stuff on its ear. He was asked to reinvent Deadman, so what he did, he had a robot body created for Deadman. And it was completely tossed out the window with his next appearance. So it does have the appearances he made in Brave and the Bold, Aquaman, Justice League, Phantom Stranger. There was a short-lived series in Adventure Comics when it was Dollar Comic, and the Deadman miniseries by, if I remember right, that was by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, and it's beautiful. Just beautiful. There's some great stuff in here. And Deadman is a very cool story, even if they did screw with the whole plot of it is that he was killed by a man with a hook, and he had to chase down who that was. And they messed with that over and over and over and over and over to the point where it just became so muddled it didn't matter. But I do like the character. The Neil Adams stuff is just gorgeous. Neil Adams kind of at his peak. Let's see, there's Batman Rise and Fall of the Batman, which is collecting the James Tynion story from Detective Comics. And this is a big one, kids. This is Detective Comics 934 to 981. It's 1,280 pages. It's basically a lot of the. It's almost the entire rebirth in Detective, because in Batman, Rebirth was when Tom King took over. Detective was sort of this story, which used a whole bunch of basically young, untested heroes who model themselves after the Dark Knight but don't have his training or resources. Batwoman and Batman recruits these young vigilantes, training them to be a team worthy of Batman. So Red Robin, Spoiler, Orphan, Clayface, and it goes from there. This is a really long story. I'm really excited that it's going to be in a big omnibus. A nice package. Three Jokers ends this month, and the hardcover will be coming out, looks like about a week after that, which means that they've had this all done and ready and in the box for quite a while. We're getting new versions of Batman, Whatever Happened to the Cape Crusader, which was the Neil Gaiman story he did when Batman died back in Final Crisis. And there's also a new printing of Batman, Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow. The thing is, in the Neil Gaiman book, it's also got his story from Secret Origin 36, Secret Origin Special number 1, and Batman Black and White number 2. In the Alan Moore one, it's got the For the Man Who Has Everything, one of my favorite Superman stories of all time, from Superman Annual number 11, and DC Comics Presents number 85. Kind of all the solo stories that Alan Moore did about Superman. Other books that jump out at me. I already have this in a bunch of other, formats. But if you're looking for the Forever People, which has that Dead Man story in it, they have got a trade paperback coming out of it now. It's going to be $30. Nice package for a trade paperback. Trying to see if there's anything else. Injustice: Gods Among Us, Volume 2. This is the story that is kind of based on the video game Injustice, which is DC finally did a story, What If Superman Turned Evil? So this is continuing that story, gathering up all the stuff from the online series and miniseries and all the other stuff. I don't know if it did well enough to get an omnibus, but obviously the first one sold well enough that they're doing a second one. I'm trying to see. Legends of the Dark Knight, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez hardcover. This gathers together all of the Batman stories by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, one of the greatest artists to ever walk this planet. Gathered up all the stories he did. Most of the stuff that he did was done for the marketing department at DC, which is a shame. I understand why they did it, because his art was just so good, but it means we did not get as many comic books out of him as we probably should have. The Lois Lane maxi series by Greg Rucka, Lois Lane, Enemy of the People. Fantastic story. I've loved it. Coming out as a trade paperback. Nightwing, the Prince of Gotham omnibus. This picks up from Nightwing 0 to 30. Kyle Higgins, Tom DeFalco, Tom Seeley, Tom King, and Scott Snyder. It's got, Nightwing 0 to 30, Batman 17, Young Romance, one of those 100-page specials. Nightwing Annual number 1 and Secret Origins number 1, which had the origin of Nightwing. See if there's anything else that jumps out here as stuff that I absolutely want. Well, there's one book that I would pick up if there were more to it, and that is Underworld Unleashed. It was a crossover put together by Mark Waid, where one of the Neron, the ruler of DC's hell, basically makes a deal with the DC villains to power them up if they give him their souls. It's got Underworld Unleashed 1 through 3, Underworld Unleashed Abyss, Apocalypse Dark Uprising, Batman Devil's Asylum, and Patterns of Fear. basically all the one-shots. It doesn't have the crossovers into the regular comics. This was a decent crossover. I remember it was okay, except I did not much care for the ending, where they had to go back and, restore the status quo, which they had to do, but I thought the way they did it was kind of eh. And then the last book that I want to point out, they are doing compendiums, which are like omnibuses that are soft covers. And they're doing one for Y the Last Man, which collects the first 31 issues of Y the Last Man, which means there'll be 2 volumes. I think they're doing one for 100 Bullets soon, which means that 100 Bullets will be either 3 or 4 volumes. But I like the fact that they're doing these as paperbacks as well as the omnibuses. Y the Last Man was a fantastic book. Brian K. Vaughan, back when Vertigo could... Basically, when Vertigo could sell, Y the Last Man is also being adapted to a TV series by FX, which is now Disney. Which means that, who knows. But this is the first 31 issues. What it is, Yorick is the average guy. He loves his girlfriend and his monkey. He was up in space, and when he comes down, every living thing with the Y chromosome suddenly dies in a mysterious pandemic, except for Yorick. Now Yorick and his monkey Ampersand must navigate the post-apocalyptic world they've been left, a world where men are rare, maybe even rare enough to make Yorick a trophy to be hunted. This was a fantastic series. Absolutely loved it. So there you go. There's DC. I have a feeling that for at least a few months, Joe won't have anything to do with DC, but I will. So back to the show. And now, IDW, because DC isn't even mentioned in previews. It's like they no longer exist.
Do they publish anymore? I got absolutely nothing to try to order any DCs from. And when New 52 came, I was all on it. I stayed on it even when the Rebirth came, and I bought up Convergence, and so I'll spend my money. But DC was kind of losing me, and then they started getting me back, and now, as far as I know, they don't even publish anymore. What you can do about it, Jim Lee? Anyways, okay, IDW. I will point out a couple things. I'm not buying them, but I just think they're kind of neat because if you like the properties, you probably should pick them up. Number 1, IDW, Transformers, Back to the Future.
You still haven't given me a review of Transformers, My Little Pony.
I know. What's up with that?
Anyways, those.
Marty McFly has just returned from the adventure of a lifetime to a new, better Hill Valley. Everything's looking up for him. That is until Marty and his friend Doc Brown's time machine attracts the attention of the Decepticons. With one small mistake, Marty finds himself once again thrust in the adventures to stop the Decepticon plot in the past, present, and future. With the help of a new time machine, the Autobot Gigawatt. So, intriguing. I will probably buy this in book form, or if I can, or maybe I'll just, on a slow day, pick it up. The only other thing I've got is on page 131, another ad and a sheet page that would be really beautiful as a poster in the shop. But Godzilla, History's Greatest Monster. And then, of course, the other 3 books, King of Monsters, Rage Against Time, and The Complete Rulers of Earth. These are fun. IDW does a great job in getting the feel for Godzilla in the comics. And again, if you're a Godzilla fan, you want to definitely take a quick look at this, because especially this one, all 13 issues in the one trade. So that's it for the IDW. Anything catch your eye, Cory?
Joe, can you please go back to page 122?
122. Ooh.
That's right. The Lock and Key Sandman crossover has an issue 0, written by Joe Hill, the son of Stephen King. This is kind of the preview of what's going to happen, and most likely the last of the Sandman Universe books.
Yeah. Again, I will probably pick this up as a trade.
Oh, yeah.
Because so my Sandman isn't a trade, and I just would rather keep it that way.
And then if you go to page 136, they are collecting Batman the Max Arkham Dreams. This is one that I was smart and did not buy as a regular comic because I was going to buy it as a trade paperback or hardcover. Love the Max. Love Sam Keith. It's been way too damn long since we got a new Sam Keith comic. And if you look on page 137, you see the art he's done for it. And it's just, I love his art so much.
Yeah, this is another one I'm not buying because of the same thing we talked about. You know, I've got the other comics. I mean, we even pimped up the reprint they were doing. And now that, we're just doing a hardcover. Whatever. I think I'll wait for the trade. Or go without. That's kind of my new mantra with DC and other people. Just go without. Because there is so much other stuff out there. Who's next?
Marvel!
Woo! Okay, everybody. Let's go to your Marvel preview supplement. You know, I wonder why DC doesn't do anything like that. Never mind. I don't have much new things to really talk about. I will say if you're missing things like Strange Academy #2 is going into a third print. So since I missed issue 2, I will pick up the third print because I just want to read the bloody series. Marvel's doing a lot of that. I mean, I talked about it last time. Thor. Oh my gosh. I looked up the prices on those early issues of Thor. Guess what I'll be selling when I get issue 6 and buying graphic novels with. But another one that I backed out on, X Universe is doing a big crossover, and this is the meat of it. X of Swords. I'm just going to buy the graphic novel. It goes through so many different books and so many different titles that I've either tried or not tried or didn't care about. And I know last month I did order X Factor, which is part of it, but I'm just going to, whatever. It's a $1 book. I'm going to wait, pick up the graphic novel, and continue forward. But it looks good. I mean, I'm really excited to see that. Amazing
and
Spider-Man.
By the way, I was right about Spider-Man.
Yeah.
What, last issue was issue 800?
Mm-hmm.
So it's back to issue 50, special big issue.
Yeah. Well, and then they're also doing something I hate. They're doing, it's Spider-Man Last Remains, which is it looks like a showdown with the Green Goblin. However, I don't know if he's still local, but artist Pat Gleason's taking over. So he was a local guy for the longest time, so I'm really excited to see that. However, they also have the Amazing Spider-Man 50 LR, and then Amazing Spider-Man 51, and Amazing Spider-Man 51 LR. Just an asshole way to get more money out of us by giving a little extra, publishing an extra book. I really hate when they do this because it just, I don't know. It's assery of a high kind. And, Marvel, if you just want to go bi-weekly, go bi-weekly. But I don't like it.
Well, there are two things. Now, I'm not going to cast judgment or not.
I will.
LR will be the side story. All of the spider characters who aren't Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, miniseries don't sell anymore. So if they were, Spider-Man Last Resort 4-part miniseries, no one would buy it. So this is a way for them to try and get you to buy it.
I will say I did go for the Alex Ross variant covers.
Yeah.
Because they're not charging an arm and a leg for 90% of these variant covers. And these were tough. I mean, they had variant covers by Mark Bagley, Arthur Adams, but Alex Ross, and even Patrick Gleason's doing the covers. But, oh, man, you do an Alex Ross Spider-Man. That's a piece of art right there.
On page 18 is a book that blows my mind.
Is it real 18? Do I have to count? Oh, there it is. Yep.
Spider-Man Marvel Snapshots, a Spider-Man story, written by Howard Chaykin. Drawn by Howard Chaykin, too, but written by Howard Chaykin. Howard Chaykin's not a big fan of the traditional superheroes. I'm going to be fascinated as to what he does with it.
Now, if you notice, this was ordered back in March. So
yes.
If you're trying to order it lately, and you did order it, and let me go back to March. Was I smart? Oh, yeah, I was smart. Matter of fact, I think you recommended it, and that's why I picked it up. So, and what's nice is you got the Marvel code on the bottom, which indicates to me two things. First of all, I've already ordered it, and second, if you didn't order it and you're going, hey, Howard Chaykin, how did I miss that? Give that code to your comic retailer, and he can order it for you.
Spider-Woman 100, which fascinates me because that means, they went through, counted up all the Spider-Woman series, and there have only been 100 issues. And it's not going to be super expensive. It's a 40-page book for $4.99. I've only read the first issue in the new Spider-Woman series, so I don't know how much I like it. And then for regular comics, it's just the stuff that I always get. The True Believers are the Black Widow True Believers that they actually solicited way back months and months ago, back in, when was that?
I don't know it.
It was in February.
It was a while ago.
So I already have all of these on order.
Yeah. I will point out on page 66 an interesting thing. The official handbook of the Conan Universe Anniversary Edition. I love these. As I'm going through my pile of things to figure out what to get, what not to get, I got one that where the hell did I put it? I think it was Civil War Battle Damage, which basically is Tony Stark talking about everything that happened in during the Civil War. And they're not tremendously expensive. They don't go up and down in value, but they're just fun reading. And they kind of give you a quick update on everything. Much like the Marvel handbook or what was DC's version? They had one too where they would come out and just, Who's Who, thank you. I absolutely love those things. And this is a Conan one. And I will probably just pick it up at my local comic book store depending on a slow week or not. But this actually looks kind of neat.
I remember it back in the day, and when it came out, Conan was not doing well because Roy Thomas left, and Conan kind of became, all right, who do we have who we're contracted to give work to? Give the book to him. But I will pick this up. Alan Zelenitz is a writer who kind of did stuff on the fringes of Marvel for a few years and then just vanished without a trace. He did a lot of what ifs and fill-in type stuff and a couple movie adaptations. Be interested to see what happened to him, because there for a while he was kind of like becoming the new Bill Mantlo, where it was, okay, we need a fill-in, we need somebody to take over this book that doesn't have a regular creative team. But unlike Mantlo, he didn't graduate up to do more. He just kind of did some Conan stuff and some fill-ins and then dropped off the face of the earth. Back in the trade paperbacks, lots of reprints here of omnibuses. They are reprinting the Amazing Spider-Man 2 omnibus, which picks up right after Ditko leaves.
That was tempting, but I decided to pass.
The next one is one that I'm getting. I passed on it the first time because it came out back when I did not have as much monies. The Captain America by Ed Brubaker Omnibus Volume 1, which issue 1 all the way up to the death of Captain America story. And boy, was it crazy on eBay and Amazon until this was announced. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
All these were nuts.
Well, the Spider-Man one hasn't been out of print that long and it didn't go crazy. But this Captain America, I remember seeing that for like $900 at one point.
Oh, yeah.
The next page, another one I'm not getting, Uncanny X-Men Omnibus Volume 4. I can point to this as the moment when the X-Men quit being super, super great.
Yeah, this was kind of the I thought hard on this one, but again, maybe it just up until issue 200, I think if it had gone to 200, I probably would have picked it up. But I can't even. I have a hard time remembering the stories And for the price, that's a lot to remember. My guess, this is the type of thing I talk about. I'm not an online guy. I'm not a digital guy, but I'll go to Marvel Unlimited and read these stories if I really want to.
And
However, the next page.
I've got them in Marvel Essentials, and I have all
Yeah, I must
comics,
have them in Essentials.
and I remember they recently reprinted Uncanny X-Men 190 and 191, the Kulan Goth story, because it ties into Savage Avengers. So I picked that up because somebody was selling it for $1 during one of our run-throughs, and I read it, and that story is still just a mess. And I recently read an interview with Chris Claremont where somebody says, yeah, that story was a mess. And he said, well, yeah, sometimes you don't hit them out of the park.
Yeah.
The next one, another new printing, New Warriors.
I was tempted on this one, but I didn't because, again, I've got them.
Yeah. New Warriors was a fun book. It was
Yes.
a really fun book, and it was a book that I didn't expect much of. But it took that formula of the new Teen Titans and actually, a few other, teenage superhero teams where it's okay, we're going to gather up some B-level characters, put them in with some new characters, give everybody a story arc, and just tell fun superhero stories. I miss this kind of book. It's hard to do when you've got comics at $4 each and everything has to be a big deal. But this was just a fun Marvel superhero book, and it was Mark Bagley's first real series. And Mark Bagley is a great comic storyteller. Now, on page 79, I'm not getting this book, but man, I am tempted to buy a special cover masterwork, Joe.
Yeah, you notice they have the traditional one, which is always good because Pat has his whole collection like that. Not the gray one, but the yellow one there, which is the variant edition. But then they have a 300th exclusive edition variant cover.
What it is, the 300th Marvel Masterwork is Howard the Duck Volume 1. It's issues 1 through 14, Marvel Treasury Edition 12, and the stories from before Howard the Duck #1 when he was in Man-Thing, and then the 2 short stories from Giant-Size Man-Thing. I have these as a trade paperback. I have them as an omnibus.
Yeah.
But boy, that 300, that special
it's a neat cover.
Is very cool. And here's the thing, I may pick it up to flip it. Because the Masterwork collectors are crazy. And the minute it goes out of print, it's going to go through the roof. So I'm still trying to figure out if I want to invest in it or not.
I will point out something on the next page is the Empire trade paperback. Notice it's trade paperback and not hardcover. Because that was always a crank of mine that everything Marvel did was first to hardcover. And I was like, they weren't bad values. I just don't need a ton of hardcovers to counterbalance all the omnibus I have on one side of my house.
And the other thing is, they did a lot of comics that aren't going to see print. I thought, they'll put out trade paperbacks of them, but it doesn't look like they're doing that either. You've got the Lord of Empire, which are the one-shots, Captain America and the Avengers, which reprint the Captain America 3-issue miniseries and the Avengers 3-issue miniseries. And on the next page is the X-Men 4-part miniseries and their tie-ins. So I wonder if they're just going to have an omnibus that has that stuff that wasn't printed, or if they're just going to shove it in a drawer and let it sit until somebody says,
it was ever completed.
For this.
Well, you don't know if it was finished either. Yeah. I mean, I haven't heard if it was. They might have okay, we're doing 4 issues. Okay, they did 3 because I believe was it Marvel? Marvel had that pencil down order.
Yeah.
So they may never finish it. Oh well. On page 85, here's your chance. Jump on board. Many of you didn't. You thought, okay, there's no way anybody can go better than Aaron, Jason Aaron. Well, Donny Cates has proved you wrong. So if you got $80 or $100 to buy that first issue, go for it. Otherwise, for a mere $17.99, you can get up to speed because this has the whole story, Thor 1 through 6. And I say that now because it's killing me because I haven't been shipped Thor 6 and people are just going nuts online about it. And I suspect I know what happens, but I don't want to say anything or hear anything about it. If I actually, I'm pretty sure it's sold out everywhere, but if I happen to run across one as I'm out and about, I will probably just pick it up to read it. So I got nothing else from Marvel. Anything else trip your trigger?
On page 92, they're continuing to reprint the X-Men books in trade paperbacks, Dawn of X, which I'm very happy about. I have my stack of the hardcover of House of X and then the 6 Dawn of X trade paperbacks. It's a perfect way to read them. They're in the order that Hickman has them taking place during. You can see how they're referring to each other, how they tie in with each other. On the next page is a book that I find really weird, the Uncanny X-Men Disassembled, which they're putting out as a hardcover, even though these stories are all pretty much, yeah, we've hit the reset button. Then we get to the Epic books. The Avengers is called Heavy Metal. It is the period when Roger Stern got fired off the Avengers. They didn't know quite what to do with it, so they had Ralph Macchio and Mark Grunwald do some stories. Then Walt Simonson came in with his new Avengers that only lasted 3 issues, and this is a complete mess. But on the next page, Fantastic Four Epic Collection at War with Atlantis. This is the end of Lee Kirby on the Fantastic Four. Kirby had decided he was no longer going to give Marvel new ideas, so they just kind of rehashed older villains, or they had stories that came up because Jack was up late drawing, and it's like, oh, Creature from the Black Lagoon. Yeah, I'll rip that off. Oh, The Prisoner. I'll rip that off.
And it's what's interesting in this collection too is they're including Fantastic Four: The Lost Adventure, which is the so-called Lost FF issue that Stan and Jack never finished. So, and I bought the one shot when it came out just for sheer history's sake. So I thought it was fun.
What it is, Kirby turned in the issue, and Stan didn't like it, so he kind of put it in a drawer. And then after Kirby left, he used parts of it for a flashback issue and had a John Romita framing story around it. And it was Fantastic Four 108, which is not in this book. But then when they did the Lost Adventure, they went back and they grabbed Kirby's original and basically the pages that Stan didn't like had never been inked. So they were inked, and the story was put together as best they could because Stan never scripted it. So you just had Kirby's notes. The one I am getting is on page 105. I did not buy the Venom omnibuses because I don't like the character that much. But now they're going to do Venom Epic. So pretty much this is the first half of the first Venom omnibus. You know, with the Spider-Man stories and the appearances elsewhere. And these were fun stories. You know, you had David Michelinie. It's weird that they have an Eric Larson cover. When you think early Venom, you think Todd McFarlane, and I think Todd McFarlane's stuff would sell a lot better than Eric Larson's, but what do I know?
That's more of a cover, though.
Yeah, but I think a McFarlane cover would sell a lot better than an Eric Larson cover.
I don't know if he did I'd have to look at his Venom covers to see if they were any good. Not saying his art's not good. He's fantastic, but that's okay.
And I also want to point out the second volume of the Oz Complete Collection is available on page 108. This is the edit Eric Schanauer, who was officially blessed by the L. Frank Baum family back in the 80s to do new Oz stories. When Marvel started doing the adaptations of the Oz stories, he was picked up for that. But this is kind of where Scotty Young came from. This is where everybody went, oh, Scotty Young's art is really good. After his Human Torch run, where people went, oh, I don't like this. It's too manga. But the Oz book is kind of, and I bought the omnibus when it was on deep discount. Absolutely beautiful stuff. And I'm a fan of the Oz books. I read them when I was in college. They're really fun books. Much darker than people think. I always say Return to Oz is a real adaptation of the second and third Oz book. Wizard of Oz, not so much. And now we go back to previews.
We do.
You getting anything from Dynamite?
I'm not getting anything I don't normally get, but there's a couple things I want to point out that I thought were really unique collector items. On page 154, Cory, would you pay $99 for an individual 7-card foil pack of cards?
Hell no.
Well, this one is one you may want to consider if you are a so-called Red Sonja fan, because not only do every pack include 2 base cards, they include 2 signed sketch cards, 1 black and white line art card, 1 puzzle card, 1 autograph card in every single pack. This is like the deluxe pack of deluxe packs. I would, as a collector, go nuts on this. I can almost see there's going to be a huge wave of these cards showing up on eBay. And you look at some of the collectors, you have no idea if you're going to get them, but this is actually kind of an interesting idea. If it sells, if they come out, I'll be mildly amazed. But the last time I saw a card pack go this high was called Americana, where it was $120 a pack, and inside they had taken actual historical items for, I don't know, just say they got a copy of one of the 16 copies that toured of the Declaration of Independence, and they cut it up and they gave it away as Americana. You know, we've seen this kind of on other card packs, usually like the chase cards in WWE, where it's like, okay, this is actual outfit worn by said wrestler or the ring they wrestled in that they cut up into little tiny squares. So if you're rich, go for it. I'd love to know what you find. On page 175, I just point out Dawn statue coming up. I used to sell tons of them, and this one actually looks pretty sweet, mainly because it's, anything Joseph Linsner does is good looking. And if you need yourself a decent Ouija board, on the other side, offered again, is the Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, Spectral Switchboard. These are just fun, goofy little things that, I would have bought it for my comic store just because nobody else would have them. Hell, even on the next page, 176, there's some lesser price Red Sonja items. But, I would have them just because nobody else would. Anything Dynamite exploding in your eyesight?
Nope, nothing jumped out at me.
How about anything go boom?
Not really.
Well, I will.
See, there's a new printing of Claus, The Life and Times of Santa Claus by Grant Morrison, but I already have that.
I'll point out a couple properties for those of you who dig things. If you're a fan of Dune, they're doing a 12-issue miniseries, kind of a prequel to Dune. So, and it's the first time I believe Dune is coming to the comics. So this one could be a sleeper hit. Let's see, on page 182, Berserker, not the one that Dark Horse did. This one seems to be missing some vowels. But what's interesting in this is Keanu Reeves. Yes, that Keanu Reeves is writing this. And I don't know if this is an ongoing series or just a mini-series. Doesn't really indicate. But again, one to kind of keep an eye on. It hasn't got any heavy press, but if it does, could be good. Unless, of course, you think I'm all serious with all this cool stuff, I will point out that's pretty much it for me for Boom.
Then we get to...
And the rest.
The rest
here
of the story.
Oh, sorry.
I go with the Paul Harvey joke, and you go with Gilligan's Island.
I know.
We're diverse.
We are. Let's see.
You know how you said that was the first adaptation of Dune? Go to page 210. There's another adaptation of Dune. This is an adaptation of the original novel.
Yeah. And I will point up kitty corner to that. X-Men, the art and making of the animated series. One of these days, I think we're going to have to get Dan Wiesenmeyer back on the show just to talk X-Men, the animated series, because one of the things that was interesting, and we've talked about this on previous podcasts, but this series and Hot Comics, St. Paul, and later on Edina we had the X-Men. We knew it was coming. We knew it would be hot because Dan was a storyboard artist on it, and he showed us some of the storyboards. He kind of had to keep it under wraps because, what do they call it? Confidentiality clauses and things like that. But this book here is kind of an essential resource for the X-Men and the general animation fans. It's got candid interviews, detailed script breakdowns, concept sketches, storyboards, which again, we saw because Dan would sit in the back room and work on them. Lots of production art, including early Jim Lee inspired character sketches. If you're a fan of the X-Men show, and right now it's on Disney, so you can go watch it in its campy gloriness. We also knew certain things. I don't know if they got in the book, but like there was apparently a scene where the Shadow King comes up in a big fireball. Apparently that doesn't translate well in a Korean. So instead of a really gnarly animated fireball, you got this kind of basketball with stripes that floated across the screen. So, yeah, Dan wasn't very impressed with that. But, this, to finish up, Dan, to his incredible foresight, locked up advertising on the X-Men cartoon when it came out. So Hot Comics was the only comic store that could advertise on that, which, brought everybody else was kind of freaking out because even Schindler's was like, how much? Nope, sorry, we're locked out. So I'm looking forward to this book. And like I said, when it gets closer, I'll reach out to Dan and see if he wants to come on the podcast and maybe talk X-Men animation because that could be kind of fun. What you got, Mr. Strode?
Go to page 228.
Oh, okay.
Our pals at Ahoy Comics have a whole bunch of trade paperbacks and stuff coming out.
Hoy, hoy.
Ash and Thorn, which is one of their current books, I have not read yet, but it's a Ahoy comic, and I've liked everything they do. The Edgar Allan Poe Snifter of Blood #1 is a continuation of their anthology horror comic. Penultimate Man by Tom Peyer and Alex Robinson. Alex Robinson of the, I believe, box office Poison fame. So that will be cool. And then Captain Ginger, which is a science fiction comic about evolved cats in space. They were going to do another mini-series, but COVID-19 hit, so they decided just to put out a second trade paperback of it instead because the first trade paperback did very well. I just recently reread Captain Ginger Volume 1. If you like cats, it is so much fun. And June Brigman's art is beautiful. June Brigman, who is, I think, what strip is she drawing? Is she drawing Mary Worth now? But back in the 80s and 90s, she drew the Power Pack comic. So her art is fantastic. Very excited about all of those.
Below it, latest books from Mayorship Entertainment, Girl Genius. I love this book. I would suggest if you're not on it, go. First of all, it's online, so you can check it out if you want. But just find book #1 and go forward. You won't miss out on it. I'm going to go back to page 212 under Action Lab Entertainment. Sasquatch in Love. I think that's all you need to talk about. It's Holden. He's well-read, caring, and single. He's also the world's last Sasquatch. And when he falls for Grace, a filmmaker who's come to rural Oregon to make a Bigfoot documentary, he enlists the aids of his best friends, local veterinarian Felix, to find out more about her. Isn't that a song? Ooh, Sasquatch in Love. Maybe not.
If it's not,
Cory?
it should be.
It should be, definitely.
I would like to point out that once again, both Boundless and Avatar, which I think are the same company, have taken out ads saying that they will will not be soliciting new releases until the fourth quarter of 2020. As everyone gets back up to speed, we will rejoin the fray. I don't know how well they could be doing, because for months before that, they were just, hey, here's our hardcovers. We're dumping them for $5.99 each.
And there was
Here's
some
our
good
trade
stuff.
paperback. We're dumping them for $3.99. Here's our special covers that we were selling for $100. Here they are for $5. It's never a good sign, kids.
Nope.
Never a good sign.
Page 230, Albatross Funny Books. I'm not buying it, but I'm pointing it out. If you're a Tank Girl fan, it's left Titan. It is now under Albatross Funny Books. King Tank Girl #1. 2 different covers. As they're wont to do, they have a regular cover, and for a little bit more, they have a cardstock cover, which is a little bit nicer. 5-issue miniseries. Directly across, Lord of Misery graphic novel, which is an Eric Powell Lost Goon spin-off graphic novel. So it's your chance to pick that up for a fairly decent price for you Goon fans. So a couple properties that if you didn't notice, well, now you know, because knowledge is power.
If you go to page 264, Comic Mix is
notice we passed over Archie, which we rarely do. Just saying.
The only thing is they don't even have a 1,000-pager this month. They do have like a 400-pager. I picked those up, but they're not that exciting. Comic Mix, however, is continuing their reprinting of the Claypool comics. Deadbeats, which was a vampire soap opera type series, and Soul Searchers and Company, which was written by Peter David and drawn by Amanda Connor, who you may have heard of those people.
It's possible. We may have mentioned them.
Soul Searchers and Company was just a fun comic. It had a bit of a horror tinge to it, but it basically, by this point, it was just Peter David looking for ways to make puns and parodies of other books. So, let's see here. It is a former Olympic athlete with an enchanted vaulting pole, a cocksure Arabian fire demon, a CPA with a magic bag, an apprentice witch, and a boy who changes into monsters. And they're detectives! Although for omnibuses, they're not that big.
Yeah. What was weird is I always like to look at Dynamic Forces to see what I can order.
Yeah.
But when I went to actually look at the prices on various stuff, they didn't have anything on Discount Comic Book Service website, which is really weird. I don't know if everything they have listed is like previously solicited or just an oversight. I don't know. Which is fine, because then I stumbled into Fangraphics. And they're always worth a look. There's 2 things I'll point out from Fangraphics. On page 270 is Maids by Katie Skelly. It's a scandalous true crime comic story of the Palpin sisters that fascinated 1930s France as they told by one of comics' most stylized talents. If you're interested, go look the Palpin sisters. Just Google it and look on the Wikipedia page. It's just crazy stuff. And I've enjoyed her stuff, My Pretty Vampire. So Maids is something I'm interested in looking up. And like I said, a little bit of history there, because I had no idea what was going on with the Palpin sisters.
Right under that
is
a series that I get. It is the George Harriman Library, Crazy and Ignatz, reprinting the Crazy Cat strip from the Hearst newspapers. An incredibly surreal strip that was popular among artists and intellectuals at the time and hated by the general public. And the only reason it ever saw print is because the owner of the newspaper, William Hearst, absolutely loved it and would never get rid of it because he loved it so much. He didn't care what the people thought. So it was given a full page at times. It was just beautiful.
On the next page is what cartooning really is, the major interviews with Charles M. Schulz. I picked up every comics journal that had a Charles Schulz interview in it, and they were absolutely fantastic. I know for a fact I don't have them. I don't know. They sold, gave them away. I don't know, whatever. But this has all of them together. And if you are a Charles Schulz fan like I am, you definitely need to pick these up because these were fascinating interviews. Gary Groth knew his stuff. He knew how to dig in and talk to Charles Schulz. Leonard Maltin is in there. Just amazing, amazing stuff. And to have all of them in a decent book, I definitely recommend this to anybody who's a Charles Schulz and or Peanuts fan.
On their next page is all of their Disney stuff. Their Disney presentation, basically they're reprinting all the old Disney stuff from the 40s and 50s from the Grandmasters like Carl Barks. And let's see here. Who are some of the other artists they don't list? But, just great presentations of those 40s comics. The Carl Barks and stuff just comes off beautifully in their books, and they also do a lot of the Don Rosa stuff because Don Rosa doesn't work for Disney Comics anymore because a pay dispute. But Fantagraphics has reprinted all of those as well. My next comic I'm excited about, page 274, Rush, The Making of a Farewell to Kings. It's a 144-page graphic novel, 10 by 10, which is about the same size as a record album. And it is a graphic novel about the behind-the-scenes story behind the album, A Farewell to Kings.
Oh, that would be good for any of you Rush fans like Cory and I am.
And this one holds a special place in my heart because I didn't know anything about Rush other than the hit songs they'd had until I met my college girlfriend, who's a huge Rush fan. At one of our first dates, we went to a used record store, and she pointed at this album, said, "This is the one you buy. This is the first one you buy." Oh, I heard 2112. No. This is the first one you buy.
Even then, Cory was being pushed around by women.
And it was okay because it's a great album.
Yeah.
She was smarter than I am.
And you know what's cool? I don't think I've ever heard this album. So guess what I'll be looking for on the eBays after we're done with the podcast here.
So what's next on your agenda, Joe?
In page 281, there's a couple comics coming from Heavy Metal magazine that intrigue me. Number one, Cold Dead War. Some guy you probably never heard of, George C. Romero. Art by German Ponce. Trained to kill enemies of the American democracy and freedom, the Pacific Pearl team continue to carry on their missions even now, long after they'd already given their lives to the cause. It's a horror war series, much like, I guess it is the official sequel to the Heavy Metal animated film segment B-17 that George C. Romero wrote. So, 4-issue series, and I believe me, I vividly remember that series. That sequence from Heavy Metal. So that looked pretty good.
George C. Romero, by the way, is the son of George A. Romero, who's the guy who did Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead.
Not to mention their sister, George B. Romero, but we don't talk about her much. The Dark Wing is right under it by Matt Midley, again, German Ponce. The Dark Wing, a planet turned into a spaceship by human-like people known as the Quails, searches the cosmos for a solar system to call home. Piloted by the legendary Zap Brannigan. No, I'm sorry, too much Futurama in my brain. Benedict Gunn. The exploration of this gargantuan ship is an adventure like no other. But when Captain Gunn pulls a daring interstellar maneuver, the price he and his crew must pay is deadly. 10 issues. I will give it a shot. I mean, and I've got to really watch this because Heavy Metal isn't known for necessarily shipping on time. It was only by the grace of Discount Comic Book Service I got the last issue of I can't remember her name. Remember the bird, the lady on Heavy Metal that comes screaming down on a big ass bird. Here it is. Tarana. because they canceled it, and then I said, well, they're shipping it. Who wants it? Okay, thank you. Now, there's another one that I want to buy, but I couldn't order it. Over on page 283, The Red. In the distant future, a nuclear world war has changed the course of history forever. 4-issue miniseries, could not find the order form anywhere online. And again, I don't know if it was just a mistake of Discount Comic Book Service or the fact that nobody quite knows where it is, or maybe it wasn't even under heavy metal because it's kind of a sub thing virus. Just annoying, but you know, whatever. I can take my $7.99 and buy something else. I can, you know.
Well, I know what you should buy. Now, I bought it ages ago when the first printing, but we have a third printing of Stan's Soapbox, the collection, on page 284. This is a reprint of all of the Stan Soapbox columns from Marvel Comics from the 60s into the, well, they pretty much kind of ended around 1980 or so. And then they popped up in Marvel Age, if I remember right, but they were very different. It's $14.99. The profits all go to the Hero Initiative. It's a fun book because you'll see in some it's Stan, you know, shilling his little heart out. And in some it's him talking about the issues of the day. For anybody who says the comics weren't political, you need to read Stan's Soapbox when he talks about bigotry and civil rights and all of those things. But for me, my favorite part is toward the end when Marvel's gearing up to do Epic Illustrated. And he pushes the magazine Odyssey as if his soul depends on it. And then a month before it comes out, it's, oh, we can't use the name Odyssey anymore, so it's Epic. All that stuff I said, it's about Epic, not Odyssey. Please don't look for Odyssey. It's a different magazine. Look for Epic. And I'm looking to see what else we're getting toward the end, Joe.
We are.
And I haven't even looked at our time.
We're actually
we're moving along.
Yeah, let's see. I just look quick, but I don't think I have anything else.
Oh, I've got a few.
Oh, by the way, that comic I talked about, Red, even though it's under heavy metal, it's a sub thing called Virus, so you'll find it under its own thing, Virus.
Okay.
So it is orderable if you want.
The third omnibus of Asterisk is going to be available through Paper Cuts. The first two shipped already. These are fun books. They're huge in Europe. They've never really quite penetrated the U.S. market, but Paper Cuts is bringing them in. And I started reading the first one. It's fun, it's silly, and it's very much... It's a lot like when I talked about Lucky Luke last week. It's okay, here's our situation. We're just going to hang gags on it. So it's the same sort of format with a different sense of humor than you're used to here in America, which is pretty cool. Let's see. I'm flipping over here to... in 2000 AD, I just got word that 2000 AD, which has not come into the U.S. since March, they're going to be dumping a lot of them on the U.S. market over the next 2 months because they finally got the okay with COVID-19 to bring them in. So it's like, okay, May, June, and July will be showing up in 1 week. Then August the next week, and then September the next week. What about April? Nobody knows. But
nobody knows.
On page 315, if you ordered the Judge Dredd Complete Case Files number 35, you got to reorder it because all previous orders were canceled.
Yeah, they're not making it easy on you.
And on page 324, I have hemmed and hawed about this book. Like you can't believe, Joe. But I am going to order it. I'm finally... I'm not going to order it. I really want to. I'm not going to order it. It is a book from Taschen America, which puts out super deluxe books and historical stuff. the History of EC Comics Deluxe hardcover, $200 was just too much for me, especially when I probably know all the information in this book. But if you want to buy it for me because you as a listener love me, I'd be okay with that.
Or even if you don't like him. If Cory is your mortal enemy, there's a perfect way to keep him distracted.
Yeah. If you buy me that, I won't leave the house. I don't leave the house anyway.
He doesn't leave the house anymore.
On page 334, there's a new Firefly novel. They're finally putting out Firefly novels. Of course, it's a British publisher doing it. And let's see, what's coming from Tomorrow's? Tomorrow's has got a new issue, a back issue, which is the superhero romance issue. Aww.
Aww.
On the next page is Holly Jolly. Celebrating Christmas past in pop culture. Remember how I said that normally when I see these books, I go, I'm not really interested in that. And then later I flip through and go, oh, this is cool. I have learned my lesson and I'm ordering it.
Yep. Now, when they do the Festivus one, Cory will be all over that,
yeah.
Oprah on a canned ham.
I do not buy the Retro Fan magazine because I looked at the first issue and it's not for me, but it's there. Let's see. This one is a Three's Company special issue, which my parents would not let me watch. And then the last thing in the comics, on page 350, we get not just a new issue of The Creeps, which is kind of a homage to Warren. It's a black and white magazine. It actually has some of the original Warren writers like Don Glut. Not many of the original Warren artists are still around and drawing, but it's a pretty good horror magazine. 52 pages for $6. But then on the next page, they're doing an annual just like Creepy and Eerie used to do. So it's, let's see, the Creeps 2021. Ugh, I'm old. Spooktacular. Reprinting some of the early let's see, collect some of the best stories from the early years of the Creeps. So if you didn't buy it until it became available through Diamond, this is a nice reprint. 68 pages for $5.99. Oh wait, no. Oh, yeah, that price is too much. 68 pages for $9.99. Yeah, I think I'll tap out on that. But The Creeps is a decent black and white horror magazine if you like that sort of thing, and I do. And that was really it. I looked through the Viz stuff, and neither of the two series that I get are available this month. Was there anything else you're getting, Joe?
Not really, other than if you flip the book on page 88, that gigantic size Galactus. But yeah, really, really light month. I was really surprised. If I didn't even order that Galactus, I mean, that's $100. I could have shaved $100 off my order by not ordering that. But I figured, what the heck? What the heck?
I'm super tempted by that deluxe action figure for Ghost Spider-Gwen that they have in the Marvel section. Super tempted by it. I haven't put in my order yet, so I don't know. But man, that's a lot of money for an action figure. Well, $45 for an action figure. I don't like action figures that much.
No, at that point, that's a miniature statue.
Oh, that's $50.
$50.
$50 for a toy?
Good
That's
Lord.
too much. You know who doesn't charge you too much, Joe?
Who's that?
These guys, our sponsors. Believe it or not, kids, this here podcast has sponsors. And that sponsor, since day one, is DreamHost.com. DreamHost.com is the best, bar none, web host in the whole known universe. And if you need a website, head on over to DreamHost.com, put in code CRAYZ, that's K-R-A-Y-Z, and get $20 off your first year. Now, if you would like to advertise here on any of the Solitaire Rose Network podcasts, you can. Just email me at solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com, subject advertising. Also, head on over to eBay and look for user Crazy, Krayz. That's Joe Crazy Writer, who's always telling us about the eBay in every episode of Crazy Comics and Stories. If you would like to contact us, you can do so. You can give us a call at 952-856-0519. Leave a message and we'll play it on the show. Or you can send us an email at solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com. Thanks. And if you've listened to this here podcast and you want more of my wonderful voice, head on over to pwinsiderelite.com, where I recap with Anthony Pyrus every episode of AEW Dynamite. The episode for last week was on Saturday, and then the episode for this week is on Thursday. They're having to move them around because of basketball. Because basketball, they're not going to move basketball for wrestling, so wrestling has to move for basketball. I don't think that's right. You know what else isn't right? That I've forgotten to say, Joe, what's going on the eBays?
Cory, have you ever been following Cerebus?
I think I did, because I remember, was that the magazine about Cerebus?
Yeah, not so much a comic, a fanzine devoted to Dave Sim.
Yes, I did.
Do you have them?
I have them in a box somewhere. I'll say this, though. Boy, did they avoid how Dave Sim went off the rails and became kind of the head of the He-Man Woman Haters Club. They never touched on that.
Do you want to guess how much a set of those goes for now?
At least $100.
I'll give you $100 if you dig all 12 of them out right now.
How much are they?
I put mine, and this is what I did. Okay, let's just go. We got 12 issues. Okay. Number one, $8 with shipping. Number two, $13 with shipping. Number three, maybe 20. Number four, 25. Number five, 30. Number six, $150.
Holy shit!
I mean, number seven, $150.
Yeah, by then
these are
probably
prices
nobody
people
was
are
buying
asking.
it.
Number 8, $100. Number 9, $100. I couldn't find 10 online. 9 is, of course, the Neil Adam one. 11, 12. Well, 12 only a mere $50, but $100 if you want to buy one. $11, $150. Yeah, it's crazy. If you collect the following Cerebus books. It was published by Windmill. Craig Miller was the big time writer with David Sim's approval, of course. They came out 2004 to 2007, and then that last issue, number 12, came out in 2011. And I got them all. I looked them up, and I said, if I sell this tomorrow, I'm eating waffles. Either way, they're on the eBays, just so you can look at them, drool on them, and if you're serious about them, go ahead and make me an offer. As far as what has sold, I put a couple trading cards online. I've sold them. Let's see, what are the goodies? Bill Stinkowich. It's Stinky Witch. It's kind of it's that lard and anchovy sandwich, the Stinkowich. No, Sienkiewicz variant cover from Fight Club number 2. Not really expensive. Another weird thing, I had some promo stickers from the Atomics. Cory, tell them about the Atomics.
The Atomics were a superhero team created by Mike Allred.
Yep. And Madman was on them, and these date from 2001. I sold both together because one was mint, the other one had like that water damage you get when you weren't paying attention when everything went. Let's see. Sold the Space Ghost miniseries from 2005. That's noted a book course from Alex Ross's beautiful covers. Not everything I sell is comic book related. I did sell a sports market report from November 2001. This was, I believe, who was this published by? I don't remember who it was published by, but I bought these. It was probably one of those magazines that I got, and then I would return it the following month. But for some reason, it just never returned because around that time period, I was getting ready to sell the shop. The only reason it's notable, Michael Vick is on the cover. Yeah, this might be his pre-dogfighting days. So it says Michael Vick, a future football gem. It's very fine, but anytime you have something like that especially with somebody notable on the cover, it's definitely worth checking out. You may not get a lot for it, but you might get something for it. And of course, I've just spent almost all day putting things up. A lot of miniseries are coming up the pike. A lot of single issues of things that may have fallen apart. One thing you won't be able to buy is Mighty Comics Presents number 40, because even as I'm talking, somebody bought that for me. That was from the Radio Comic Archie series, had the Web versus Iron Fist. So it was kind of their superhero line that Archie never quite has figured out what to do with. So, but what is there, you can find under the Crazy, Krayz. If you do see something you like, let me know you listen to this here podcast. I might even give you a special deal on it. Might toss in something extra special from it, and you'll get a spiffy flyer that I put in every single box. Of course, you won't need it because you're already part of the saved, as opposed to the unwashed heathens who never listen to this here podcast or have bought anything from my store. But there's only one thing left to say at this point. Come get some.
And now we get to my favorite part of the show. No, not where I look up and see that my Howard the Duck movie stickers are only selling for $3 each on eBay.
Oh.
No, it's Freaking a Geeky Joe. What are you freaking on?
Not much. Mainly because, like I said, it's only been 2 days since we recorded last. I've been off, and I got really nothing to freak about. How about you, Cory?
Looking over the stuff that's coming out and looking over from DC. Again, I worry about comic shops. I hope that they have, I hope that they're doing okay. I saw that Mind's Eye, he is still bringing up stuff from his personal collection, which, I'm sorry, I never see that as a good sign. But I hope that he's able to dig out of his hole and get some more recognition so that more people come to his shop. I know that you went there a little while back. I'm probably going to be going there soon just to see what he's got and pick some stuff up. But I'm worried about comic shops, as we have been since this here podcast started. Somebody asked me online earlier today. So what did you think of the Democratic convention? This is not the political part of the show, by the way. And by the time this starts, the Republican convention is starting. And you know what I told him? There is no way on this planet I could possibly care less. Which is a shame, because when I was a kid, they were cool. They had all this, all this stuff going on all the time. I remember in 1976, the Republican convention, the big thing was who was Gerald Ford going to pick for his vice president, because he was going to drop Nelson Rockefeller and pick someone else. It ended up being Bob Dole, but everybody thought it was going to be Ronald Reagan. And there were reporters running to different delegations to ask what they'd heard. And then, in other conventions, there's all this, the pageantry and, some of the people. Bill Clinton won the presidency because in 1988 he gave a speech that everybody loved. Barack Obama, 2004, gave a speech that everybody loved. Now it's just, okay, people are on their headsets on Zoom. I was flipping past last night, and it looks like every other cable news show where there's a host and some people on Zoom, and they're talking about stuff. And I already know who I'm voting for, so no one's going to convince me of anything. No one's saying anything new. There's no drama involved. Everything's already decided. So it's just 4 nights. It's just 4 nights of who cares. 4 nights that Rachel Maddow's not going to be on. 4 nights that Stephen Colbert will be live in his office. I do like the fact that the Daily Show didn't even bother to go live. They're like, oh, well, we'll cover Monday stuff on Tuesday because meh. And I'm a little irritated with DCB service. I pay for every 2-week delivery, and my box this week, because they didn't send it the last week of the month, I had to wait 3 weeks for previews, which means what they want us to return that, our order within like 5 or 6 days. And I like to have a little more time because, like, that $200 EC book, to hem and haw over, to run my numbers, to see if it's worth it, to do some research and see what's said. Nope.
Well, and even a case in point, that one book from Heavy Metal they have listed, and then it occurred to me, oh, that's why I couldn't fire it. It's under virus as a separate imprint, not Heavy Metal virus, just virus. So I was able to order it. So they are getting my $7.99. So again, yeah, there's a lot of things like that. And I like listening to what Cory says. There are times where he'll mention something that I overlooked, and I may want to pick it up.
And then the last thing I am freaking on, I was at the group home 5 nights in a row, and it had been a long time since I'd done that, and I forgot just, because when you get away from stuff like that, you're like, oh, yeah, I used to do that all the time. But I forgot just how rushed I feel all the time, because it's okay. After my last call, I got to get in the car and I got to get there, and I've only got so much time, and boy, I hope there's no traffic, and I got to stop and get a soda, because if I don't have soda to drink while I'm there, I'm going to pass out and go to sleep. And then I get back here and it's like, okay, I need to go to sleep now so that I wake up on time for, but it slows down now. They actually, what is it? The first week in September, I'm taking off, and I'm not working any of those days, which is good because my son would kill me if I worked any of those. And that's really about it. Yeah, we had a big freaking last week, so not as much freaking this week. Joe?
Oh, what am I geeking on? Oh, yeah. Well, I finally hit a garage sale after all these years. Usually I can't because I'm working Friday, Saturday, which is the big garage sales days. Didn't see much, but I did pick up a book called Historic Photos of Minnesota. This is one of those books that normally goes for $40, but they were selling it for a mere $3. And I'm like, you know what? I've spent worse things on $3. I'm not big on just spending money on photo books. I like taking photos. But for $3, this is kind of neat. This is actually from Turner Publishing, and I imagine it's still in print because every time I go to Barnes and Noble, they have a local spot so that I can pick it up. And I'm like, well, I'm not gonna pay $40 for it, but three is good. I mentioned earlier we were talking about what does a big corporation do when it buys something or changes CEOs? They start cutting. And I said, well, you want to know who didn't do that? I believe when Disney was taken over by Michael, I got to get their name right.
Michael Eisner?
I believe so. And
Eisner's the one who kind of changed it. When he came in, Disney was kind of a low-rent operation at that point.
Well,
he's the one who turned their animation around.
They actually were suffering because not only did they had the vision to do Disneyland, and then Walt had had the vision of Disney World, and it was completed, and then Roy died. And you're right, they had nothing going on. They just kind of flopping around. Michael came in, and I should back that up. The one thing they did do is they made an exact copy of Disneyland and made Disney Tokyo, which is what they wanted in Japan. Well, when Mike came in, he didn't do what most CEOs normally do by cutting everything. And at the time, the Imagineers, who were the guys who basically imagined the theme park, they went from Walt Disney, well, let's do this, let's make it, let's see what we can do, to years of, well, we got to cut. Even to the point where I believe it was called WED Industries, it was like an afterthought. Nobody even remembered these were the Imagineers that created the theme parks, that created the magic, that made the animatronics work. And when Michael Eisner and his I can't remember the COO. I think it was Frank. Oh, hang on, I gotta find this because this is important. Frank Wells.
Oh yeah, Frank Wells.
Yeah,
I've heard that name.
Because these two had a similar vibe that Walt and Roy had, where Walt was the big dreamer and Roy was kind of the we can't do that because of this. And it was kind of the same way. Michael was just a big dreamer. He came in and said, we're going to do this. We're going to spend money on this. And Frank would be like, okay, out of every 10 ideas, only 3 of them are workable, Michael, and I'm going to tell you that. And when Mike came to WED, where all the Imagineers were, they thought for sure it was going to be, okay, we're closing you down. New CEO, that's what they do. They budget cut. He said, no, let's get you guys going. Let's get you some money. Let's make some magic going on. And that's what brought us Epcot. That's what brought us Euro Disney. And yeah, Euro Disney had the fate of A not being embraced fully by France. And some of it was their own fault. When you think about eating in France, what's the one thing you would probably have with your meal?
Wine.
Damn straight. Disney didn't have wine in their parks until months later, and then it was like by that time the snobs had already poo-pooed them. They don't even have wine in our park. How can we think they're embracing France? But they put so much detail and so much artistry into Euro Disney World that just is not present in Disneyland, Disney World, or Tokyo. And it's just, to me, I really want to go see this place now because I had like zero reason to see it. They turned Space Mountain into Steampunk Space Mountain with much more working parts and things like that. And this is a case where the CEO and the COO went in and they didn't cut and they didn't put things to the bone and they didn't slash budgets. And if anything, they turned around and they said, come on, let's get this going again. I mean, this was the breath of fresh air that saved Disney from 2 attempts at hostile takeovers where guys would have picked up Disney and, spin off this, close off this, do like they do to every other business they get a hold of, maximize shareholder value. How do I know all this shit? Well, I'm watching The Imagineers on the Disney Channel, a 5-part miniseries that talks about how the magic was worked behind the scenes with Walt embracing Disney World, embracing, making Disneyland, and then planning for Disney World. And of course, he died in '66 before anything was happening. How Roy took over, how Michael took over. The sad thing is, and this is why I wanted to know, I'm at the part in episode 3 where Frank Wells dies in a helicopter accident. Because he was the type of guy who apparently, if I recall right, he had climbed like 90% of the mountains that were climbable in the United States. And he was in Nevada going to go do some skiing in the mountains, and the helicopter crashed, which utterly devastated Michael Eisner. They have a thing where Mike's out they're trying to make a celebration of this, and he almost breaks down. And it's all being recorded. And that was the end of episode 3. Now we know we haven't even gotten to the good part yet, where they buy Marvel and they buy Disney, and they might cover the whole making of the Disney Star Wars world. I don't know. I still got 2 episodes to go. But if you can, and you got Disney, go check this out because this is fascinating. It's telling me stuff I've never seen before. You get a tour under Disneyland World where, the mythical tunnels are, where everything goes. I've said, I don't know if I've ever told you, I had 2 personal stories when I took the kids to Disney World. This was probably 2002, I believe. It was cheap because it was after 9/11 and nobody wanted to fly, but we got there. It's almost as cheap as going now. Local television host Jason Matheson just came back and he said, there's not a lot of people there. There's a lot of social distancing. He went down because I think he had some business. And then, of course, he goes to Disney World because he loves Disney World. I mean, you got to love it when the guy comes home with a $600, I think it was a $1,600 Darth Vader life-size bust. And the reason why he got it was, I mean, he paid like $800 for 700, but he like a lot of points and sale and blah, blah, blah. And he has it on a pedestal. I mean, he's a geek like us, so he was loving this stuff. But he said, yeah, it was a good time to go. There weren't a lot of people. The stories I got was, okay, we're sitting across from the MGM roller coaster, and some teenagers plowed over young Holly. You know, she was a toddler. Either before or right before I got to Holly, because I was, just sitting down, and, Holly was just kind of walking around doing nothing. A cast member from Disney was right on top of that. And she wanted to know how Holly was. Did we need to get her to a doctor? Is she doing okay? I was so impressed. I have no idea where this cast member was, but to see that and to jump on it was just incredible. The other thing that happened is later on, we were on Main Street waiting for the parade. And of course, I sat, and Dana, I think Chris took the girls off to go hit the bathroom or whatever. Across from me, poor little girl had too much whatever and just lost it. I mean, and this, I don't know, maybe somebody waved a copy of Death May at her. I don't know, but she lost it. Out of nowhere. First of all, a cast member was there right away. And I swear it was a wall, but it opened as a door. 3 people came out as they took this girl away with her family to wherever. These guys who came out the door cleaned up the puke, the mess. Within, I swear, a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes, they were gone. You didn't even know it happened. And by the time my girl came, I remember telling Chris when she came back, I said, could you tell that somebody got sick across there a minute ago? I mean, it was just amazing. So, I have no idea what I was ranting. Oh, I know the whole point about ranting with Disney World. DC, AT&T, you don't have to cut everything to the bone, okay? You can, what would be the proper word? Exploit the properties to make money. Well, too late. They don't listen to us. We give them $1 million ideas. They never listen. I did read one thing. I read a paperback, courtesy of our buddy down at Mind's Eye, one of his $3 trade paperbacks, Angela, Queen of Hell. This is one I was curious about because she shows up in the whole Jason Aaron run, which I've gone on in other podcasts, as the Queen of Hell. Well, let's explain how she became the Queen of Hell. Beautiful art. I think the problem is that the story is driven pretty much by Sarah, who is apparently Angela's love interest. And as far as I know, someone they just pulled out of the blue to make the story work, which is probably why I never got the story to begin with. This reprints the 7-issue story arc, and I believe there's one other one. It was okay. I mean, I guess it's probably why I ended up selling the miniseries before I read it, and I'm going to sell the book. I don't know. I got to figure out something to do with it. I mentioned last week kind of, I did buy something silly from Mind's Eye. Cory, you're big on Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, right?
They're okay.
Whoa. Well, how about the San Diego Comic-Con?
It's okay.
How about putting them together in a exclusive figure where you have everybody from, to Floyd, to Dr. Teeth, to Animal on his drums, in a very cool box set at a price cheaper than eBay.
Oh, that would be nice.
So I pulled out the old credit card and I bought it. So, and I wasn't sure I was going to, but as I was waiting there and he was talking with other people, I kind of looked on eBay and I thought, this is really cool. And he did set me up with a Thor number 5. I'll buy a $120 figure set from him. Well, I can walk into your shop. You'd be nice to me. I did the same thing at the Source back at the Black Friday sale when we went. I don't even think I've gone through half those trades that I bought. And then I thought, you know what? I'm going to buy that classic Supergirl statue in the format that I love for $300. Well, plus they're also on sale too. Cory, what do you think about a Stan Lee figure with him holding Captain America shield?
Oh, I like that. I've seen that figure.
I got them. I got 2 of them. They were actually on Target's website. I know they're just starting to ship, so I don't believe they're crazy money. While we talk, let me fire up the old Kray 2000 and look on the old eBays, because I was real excited about this one. I may have actually ordered this through Discount Comic Book Service, but when I found it was available from through Target, and yeah, people got them already. They're popping online, 30 and up, so you can get them online pretty cheap. I think I got mine. I don't know what they ran. Here. Oh well, I'll find it somewhere. But yeah, whatever. I got a couple of them. And the other thing that was nice is Chris got free shipping, because we've been doing that Target thing for shipping stuff for us while we were down with COVID. And she uses the Red Guards, another 5% off, and she did Alliance. Blah. So I got a decent price for them. So I got two. I might open one. I might close. I don't know. I'm so wishy-washy. Let's see. Cory, have you ever played the Milk and Cheese Stupid Little plus Madman board game?
No, but I want it.
Well, there's one on eBay for $20. I found I had the figures, which were just little cardboard things. You basically cut them and they like fold over. Two of Milk and Cheese, one of Madman, and one of whoever his female love interest is. And I found these things and I had no idea what the hell they were. But a little search and a little Googling, and I found that there is apparently it dates from the 90s, so obviously when I had my comic store, and it looks like it was just a fold-up board game, goes out poster size. On one side, you've got Milk and Cheese, Stupid Little Board Game. On the other side, you got Madman's Quest for True Love. And if you want it all, just to Milk and Cheese, Stupid Little Madman board game, I've got the pieces on my eBay site, but if you want the board game, here's your chance to pick it up. Lest you think I didn't do anything, my wife and I did actually do something, because people have asked, and I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but she is pretty much, I don't want to say she's over the COVID, but she doesn't have it. However, she was out 2 to 3 weeks, and now she's got to get her endurance built up again.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's like she says, nothing she's ever felt before. And so she just kind of, hey, let's go check out the Sunflower Park. So we went up to Anoka and checked out Leathers Park, and it's really cool. The sunflowers are there. They were all kind of wilted down because I believe it's past one of the seasons. Tons of insects. It's just a beautiful area, a little maze you could walk through. We went to an ice cream store in Anoka, and I also found a place that I'm going to have to go visit called the Toy Boys. And excuse me while I refire up Toy Boys, and it's a little.
While I whip this out.
Yeah, Toy Boy Collectibles, 2006 2nd Avenue, Anoka. Not open. It says on their website they're open Monday through Friday, but when I was there, they only had a sign saying they were open Friday, Saturday, which again sucks, mini freaking, because I am now working Friday, Saturdays, so I won't be able to get up to visit them. But I looked in their store, and it looks like it's a lot of fun. Just a little narrow place full of toys of all ages, Star Wars, Hot Wheels. You had me at Star Wars. So check that out. We also stopped. There was a ice cream store right across the street from them that we added. I can't find the name of it now because my computer's acting up. But took a little trip up to Anoka. On the way back, we drove the River Road until we got tired. I found a bunch of little regional parks and things like that. So, Toy Boys, if you're listening, give me a yell. I'd love to visit your shop, only I can't do it on your hours that you're there. Again, I understand you got to do the hours you can, but boy, there were a lot of people wandering around Anoka. You may want to rethink your hours and open on Sunday. That's pretty much it for me. Cory, what are you geeking on?
I've read some really cool books over the last few days. The first was Old Man Quill, 12-issue maxi series. Got 3 really cool twists to it, and it does tie into the same continuity as Old Man Logan and Old Man Hawkeye, but I actually have not read those. So I may actually go back now and read those. But Old Man Quill, really good, very emotional book. Just beautifully drawn, too. Oh, loved it, loved it, loved it. In my box day, we're finally getting new issues of Knights of the Dinner Table. It's been like 6 months since we've got a new issue. So they dropped 3 issues all at once. So looking forward to reading that. But the book that I opened up and started reading immediately was an omnibus, the Solomon Kane omnibus. Joe, does Joe know who is Solomon Kane?
Oh, I should know because I just finished reading that crossover with him and Conan. Wasn't he, was it 1700s? Kind of a preacher man who fought for God and righteousness?
Yes, he was another creation of Robert E. Howard. He was a 16th century Puritan. Oh, no, 17th century Puritan. You're right. So 1600s, but a 17th
Note this.
century.
I'm not right often. I need you to verify this. I'm going to have to prove this to my wife.
Yes.
I was right once.
You were right once. But he's a 17th century Puritan. And when he was at Marvel, he only had a 6-issue miniseries. That was the only comic they did of him. But they did a number of stories in Savage Sword of Conan because at the time they had the rights to all the Robert E. Howard characters. They have used him recently. There was also a pair of miniseries when it was over at Dark Horse, which are not in this book. This is only the Marvel stuff. So a lot of black and white. Actually, a couple of text stories, which surprised me, because I guess back in Savage Sword of Conan, every so often they're like, okay, write a short story. But anytime you're reprinting stuff from Savage Sword of Conan, until the 80s, people really would knock themselves out on that book. I've told the story, I don't know how many times, of they had Filipino artists who were inking John Buscema's stuff, and there was one inker who, didn't turn the stuff in, and eventually the agent went to his house, and the inker was, I can't touch this. I can't touch it. Whatever I do will ruin it. Because Buscema loved drawing that stuff, but also because it was in black and white, it was going to be printed better. So whereas on a lot of Marvel stuff, he just kind of did thumbnails and layouts, on the Savage Sword stuff, he did full pencils, and they got some beautiful inkers. Buscema doesn't do a lot of these stories, but they're still, the first one is by Ralph Reese, who pencils and inks it, and it's just gorgeous. Oh, I love this stuff. And that's really about all I've had time to geek on since we recorded on Saturday, because it's only been 3 days and I've been at work for a lot of it. So there you go. Believe it or not, kids, we got a previews episode done in less than 2 hours.
I know. That is kind of condemning to the comic industry, because, Cory and I love spending our bucks, and there's just wasn't stuff we wanted to spend.
And
but
as
I was just going to say, if you got something you want us to pimp, either let us know or just send us a note saying, hey, I recommend this. You guys overlooked it. What's wrong with you guys?
There's a whole lot of stuff that's wrong.
Yeah, there's a lot of things wrong.
But as we say every week, the comic we like the least, we still like better than the comic that you like the most. Joe?
I got a tall, pointy hat. Status boy. You can argue with me, but you can't argue with status.
We done, bitches.